looks like we've started. This video is about the technique that Gunther Gerzso used to do his geometric layouts of paintings. But this particular video is a very preliminary or basic introduction to how he used the technique using golden section to lay out his paintings. And so as an example, I'm going to recreate the way I designed the logo for the website, www.gunthergerzso.com. Okay, and to give it that kind of that look of the abstract paintings that he usually did. So there are two takeaways here. The first takeaway is that the golden section, the way he used it, is a technique, a typical technique that draftsmen use, all designers use. That's all there is to it. Okay, now how you use it to produce good stuff or not is up to the designer. The second thing is that it's not required to produce a good work of art. Okay, now he decided to do it that way because he was, as I say in my talk at the Denver Art Museum, he was a designer. He liked to approach his art as a designer. And so, as I like to say, art by design. Okay, but that's just the personal choice he made. The other thing is that the golden section or golden ratio, he used that as a way of dividing up a line. Has nothing to do with mathematics. Some people I talk to get all wrapped up in the mathematics. It does have some interesting characteristics from the point of view of math, but he was not interested in that. Now, there is a long historical tradition using golden section in art. He had books on that. I think I have some of those books in the archive, right? But that's all there is to it. So I'm going to talk about in this video how you use it to do a simple design, the logo of the website, okay? And then the next videos, the next episodes, I'm going to try to figure out how to make an accessible sequence of videos to talk about how we constructed the geometry of a particular painting, like the one that's talked about in the Diana DuPont book. Okay. So before I start, I would like to mention that this is a reproduction of a sketch he did in a notebook. And this was before he started doing systematically using the golden section to lay out his paintings. Okay, and so it's just an example is that you don't have to use the golden section to go do a good piece of art. And this was, you can see that there's no geometric layout at all. And I guess the challenge is to transfer that onto the canvas or masonite. So that's another advantage of the geometry. Okay, I'm going to recreate the way I did the logo for the website, www.gunthergerzso.com. And, what I did was that I grabbed a piece of paper, like this is brown paper, like from a paper bag. And I don't remember where I did it, but it was like, in a cafe, the usual thing. You're sitting in a cafe, you say, well, like Trident Booksellers Cafe in Boulder. And I've done that many times. I mean, I'm not inventing there to promote them, but do it anyway. What's true is true. Anyway, and so you're thinking about it, and Gerzso used to do the same thing. You'd think about it, and then he would sit down and he would do a little sketch, a little thumbnail. Okay, now in the case of the website, the logo has to be square, okay? And it has to be something that you can scale up and down, on the website, or something bigger on an invoice or something like that, or it has to be okay in the channel for YouTube. It has to look good in a circle. For some reason, the images of YouTube are always in a circle. Okay, so let's, Gerzso would, and his thumbnails actually were like this big. They weren't this small. Okay, so I said I want, so what did he do? He did you know, something like this that had a square and other things, or, you know, some complicated form like that and a square, or many little squares, okay? What else did he do? Okay, he didn't do something, but anyway, like this, let's just, but this is too complicated. Sure. What I said is I want a square, because he always had a square in his image, and I'd like it red, but not the red he used. He used a kind of a dark red that was the color of bricks in Mexico, the kind of bricks they use, or what they call tesontle, which is a volcanic rock. Then we want a band, a black band down here, a green band here, and this be blue. Okay? All right, now I can do that. I can just sketch it out, wing it, but if I want the logo to look like what Gerzso does, or did, sorry, he used the golden section. So the golden section is it's a trick of draftsmen. It's no big deal. Okay, some people get kind of all wrapped up in the mathematics, the golden section, or the golden ratio, whatever. But the idea is that you have a line and you want to divide it in an interesting way, and for historical, psychological reasons, whatever, it's the golden section is a 618. Okay, and this is a length L. All right, I always put 0 and 10, so it's 0.618 times L, whatever that is. Okay, and that'll give you something. Right, and this is a thing he always did. All right, so in this case, we're going to have a square. Okay, I mean, he did do square painting, so it's not completely. And then he has, you know, the midpoint. Okay, this is the length. We don't know what kind of semi-mathematical here. Okay, and then the first thing he did is, and this is what I did, put the golden section here, which is 0.618. Usually 6.2 is enough. Have the first line. And then, okay, so he has the long side of the golden section on this side and the short side on this side, but you can do it either way. You can, okay, so then you can have, this is midpoint, so this is the golden section here, and he actually wrote down GS always, okay? Okay, so now, then he would start putting diagonals in, and to give him the point, you know, to start constructing the design, okay? In this case, so this is line number 1, or this could be line number 1. I'm going to do line number 2 here, all right? So we got a point here, okay? And so then you extend the line, okay? Then this gives you a point, this gives you a diagonal, all right? This gives you a point here, all right? And you have a line here, so you just drop it and hit the line there. So that's the size, that's the dimension of the side of the square, okay? You extend the thing. So since we know it's a square, no? Okay? So we got that part. Now the next thing is, we want a line down here. How do we do that? And then we want another line here. How do we do that? Okay. Actually, I don't remember how I did it, but, you know, there's several possibilities. All right. Okay. So it could be the golden section. I mean, it would work. This could be the golden section of this side. You extend the lines either side. Okay. So I thought, well, then I always think about it. I say, oh, well, I don't know. I got to think about, have my cappuccino, go look at some books, go home. Then I'm going to simulate what I did on the computer. All right. Because doing the computer, I mean, I taught CAD for many years. Okay. So set it up and whatever. It's going to be hard going. Well, not hard going, but it takes a lot of time. So this is the same idea. So the computer has a grid, just like this graph paper. Now, Gerzso didn't use a computer. Don't get any ideas. So I wanted to use output an SVG, writing it upside down, SVG file, and I use something called Inkscape, but you can use other programs, it doesn't matter. And the great thing about an SVG is you can change the size. I mean, if you change the size or scale the size, it doesn't mess up the image. If you have a JPEG or, and you make it much bigger, then it looks all crazy. It's sort of Swiss cheesy, but with this, the SVG doesn't do that, okay? So then the next thing I do, although Gerzso always used a pencil, a regular pencil, and he had an electric pencil sharpener on the side, and he had his eraser, so I'm going to have my trusty eraser, which I always use, and then I do this very frequently, all the time. I say, okay, what mechanical pencil am I in the mood for today? Okay, so I'm going to select a classic Lamy mechanical pencil. Okay, and I used these in Mexico. And we had these. You probably had one too. Okay, so, all right, so I'm going to simulate what we did on the computer. So we're going to have, you define a grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is halfway point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I count, I always start getting distracted. Okay, okay, now. I have a friend who falls asleep every time you give a talk on the YouTube or whatever. So maybe he fell asleep in the first half, but now can wake up and get it again. Okay, so we got our square. In this case, it's 10. Actually, it's 20 to be absolutely strict, but whatever. Okay, so this is going to be more or less where the golden section is. And then, so then the same thing here. Okay, so this is halfway. So we put our different line here. Okay, then we do it. I have to rotate it because I can't get it all wobbly. All right. So this is our first line or second line, depending. Second line, third line. All right. Then this gives me this diagonal. I can now, this is the point, you see, I go, so you draw lines like this. You go this way, then you do this one, then you do this one. All right. So this gives me the point here. Drop the line down here. Got a point here. All right. Then I extend the line here in the CAD. I mean, you can extend the line randomly, and then it doesn't matter where it is. This guy can be all the way out here, okay? But then this gives you this dimension, all right? I'm going to wing it. The computers don't do this, just measure it, okay? Now the bottom line, you see, I don't think I did the geometry. I needed this point, but I said, well, okay, it's, let's not be too strict here. So this is 1. This is the, in my measurement. So I have my point here. And then the next question is, what can I do here? So this line, the midpoint is around here. So let's say the golden section is here. That's one solution. I mean, it just has to look good, okay? So we got black here. We have green, red, blue. And you do this in this Inkscape or Illustrator or whatever, and you can make these, and then make these colors. You select the colors, put them in, all right? Okay? We're done. So this is how he would design some. Now, the reason I'm doing this is just to go over the basics, and then you can see a more complicated one in other episodes, but not this episode. So this is how it looks in Inkscape. This is the, you could say, the line drawing part of the logo. All right. And I'm going to move the window around a little bit. So you can see it has all these tools, just like a regular, probably similar to Illustrator, many programs like this, but this program runs on many computers, Linux, Mac, whatever. So, and if you don't want to depend on Adobe, but it's a matter of, personal taste. And then this is what it looks like finished in Inkscape, all right? And that's where I put in the colors. So you define the areas and you can put in the colors, right? So that's it. Very simple. The takeaway here is that there's no high math, complicated formulas or anything. It's just a way of dividing a line. And he did this over and over again. It's like what he liked to do. It's not a recipe to produce good art. I'm going to mention this several times in the other episodes. It's just what a draftsman likes to do when he's drawing, all right? And he is searching for a painting that looks a certain way based on the geometry and the idea as an artist, what he wants to do, okay? Just like here, I came up with, sometimes you call this a conceptual design, the general layout of the logo. The general layout of the logo is not given to you by the geometry automatically. There's no algorithm. There's no artificial intelligence. It's just you as a designer doing it. Once you have the idea, like what I had, where I wanted a red square, green, and then how do I lay it out? So I lay it out using the golden section. And that's it, okay? Now, you can do this, and it'll look like hell. But, but that's the difference between a good designer and not a good, or a good artist or not. Okay. I guess we're finished. So I will move out of the way.